Week 9 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 20 quarterbacks I'm ranking this week. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. So an MVP-type season it's been from Mahomes. Now Rashee Rice has been back in the last couple weeks. And this Buffalo defense hasn't been good this season. And also they're banged up with a lot of injuries. So this week in Buffalo, two big AFC rivals over the last 5 years. I think Mahomes goes out there and has a big game once again. You pretty much could pencil him in anywhere from 25 to 30 fan points. Number 2, Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson finally back in the lineup. It made sense for him to sit out one more week and obviously come back on the Thursday night game in Miami here. So Baltimore 2-5. People thought Lamar was going to come back last week, but it didn't make sense to rush him back and play 2 games in 5 days. And now he'll play this week and then get those 11 days off and play again. So this week in Miami, a defense that's been bad all season besides last week. I think Lamar comes back and puts up the usual numbers. Number 3, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. So Josh Allen still seeking that number 1 wide receiver. I think's been the problem for Allen in this Bills offense with inconsistencies at times, especially going back a few weeks ago, losing to the Atlanta Falcons in Week 6. So this week, Kansas City coming in, a team in the regular season he's had success against, but in the playoffs, he just can't shake them and get a victory versus them. So this week, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game between these two teams, and Allen will get his numbers as well. Number 4, Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. What a season it's been for Herbert this year with Los Angeles. No, Los Angeles, it's been an up and down last few weeks for them, but the offense is still going out there and put up numbers. And when you got guys like Lab McConkey, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston at the receiving position, and then also Arando Gadsden now emerging at the tight end position, one of the better tight ends in the league and a great matchup at the Titans. I think Herbert once again goes out there and he could score 25, 30 fantasy points. Number 5, Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. It looks like Jaden Daniels is going to practice and play this week for this Commander team. And reports came out late last week that he was going to practice on Sunday, see how it is the hamstring, and then looks like to practice on Wednesday and play in Sunday's night game versus Seattle. So Seattle, a middle-of-the-pack defense, they could go out there, definitely make plays. And Daniels, he's had some turnover problems this season, but still a quarterback that goes out there, puts points on the board. And obviously with his rushing upside, especially, he's a guy every week that's in that top 5. Number 6, Drake May of the New England Patriots. Drake May having a monster second season is May. He's going to get you the football if you're in the right spot, if you're a receivers or a tight ends. He's going to get some rushing yards as well for fantasy owners. And pretty much weekly, you'll pencil in him as well, 25, 30 points. It's been for Drake May over the last few weeks. In Atlanta, bad defense. We saw last week Miami come in. They moved the football all over the field. And now with Atlanta to New England, I think Drake May throws for a good game once again. Number 7, Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. So last week, I wasn't big on Prescott. And obviously, it was a tough matchup at Denver. And he didn't get the job done. And this week, a better matchup Monday night. Arizona coming to Dallas. Dallas way better offensively at home than they are on the road. And when you get guys like CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens at wide receiver, and then a good tight end like Jake Ferguson, even though he was shut out in last week's game, I think Prescott will bounce back in this game and have a nice performance. Number 8, Matthew Stafford of the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford as well. He's got great playmakers in the offense. Puka Nacua, he's going to return ready to go in this one. Devontae Adams, a good first season for him with the Rams. And you got Kyren Williams in the backfield. And also with New Orleans coming in, a defense that can't stop anyone. So I think Stafford coming off the bye and with everyone healthy has a top 10 performance. Number 9, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff, we know he's a gunslinger. We know this is a great offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams. And we know this Lion offense in terms of fantasy football, they play better at home in terms of putting up points. So this week with Minnesota coming in, a defense I thought coming into the year would be a great unit. They've been getting torched, especially the last 2 weeks. In Week 7, Philly went up and down the field on them, and then Week 8 versus the Chargers did whatever they wanted in that ball game on Thursday night. So I think Goff goes out there, especially coming off the bye as well, and he could put up some good numbers. Number 10, Daniel Jones of the Indianapolis Colts. So Jones has turned this franchise around. Jonathan Taylor, obviously a huge part of it with 9 touchdowns in his last 3 games, 3 touchdowns each game for Jonathan Taylor. And Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren have been great playmakers in this offense. So this week, even in a matchup that doesn't look great on paper at the Steelers, Daniel Jones weekly to me has been a top 10 option. Number 11, Joe Flacco of the Cincinnati Bengals. So Flacco banged up day to day with a shoulder injury, but I think he's going to play in this game. And this is a good matchup with Chicago coming in, where their defense does cause turnovers and gets pressure on the quarterback and sacks, but they do give up a lot of points. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, obviously a great 1-2 combo, and arguably the best 1-2 combo receiving core in all the pro football. And also Chase Brown out of the backfield the last few weeks has been productive. So with all those factors and a good matchup, I think Flacco goes out there, another home game for Cincinnati, and throws the ball all over the yard. Number 12 staying in the same game, Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears. The first month of the season, Williams got off to a roaring start, and now the last few weeks, the numbers have dropped off. And I've said this in other videos pretty much all season long, that Williams, to me, is a better fantasy quarterback than a real-life quarterback. Holds on to the football way too long, overthrows a lot of wide receivers, accuracy isn't great, and he don't read defenses that great. But this week at Cincinnati, a defense that just gave up 39 points to the New York Jets, I think Williams could go out there, have a good game. Number 13, Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. I expect Murray back in this one, coming off the bye. Monday night, and even extra day of rest for Kyler Murray and this offense going into Dallas. And this Cowboy defense, one of the worst defenses, obviously, in the league and possibly of all time. So last week we saw Bo Nix and the Broncos go up and down the field versus Steve, and I think Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, and Bam Knight, Trey McBride could do damage in this ball game as well for Kyler Murray and help this offense score. 14, Jackson Dart of the New York Giants. It just seems like weekly someone's going down for this Giant team. And the talented running back Cam Scatterbo out for the season, dislocating the ankle, where he went out for a route, got tackled, and his leg got caught under him. And Jackson Dart now down, another weapon. And Dart last week, I thought Philadelphia figured some things out in that game, how to attack Dart and make stops. But Dart, I still think, is a good quarterback. It was one down game. This week, a pretty good matchup with San Francisco coming in. But these other quarterbacks just have better matchups than Dart. And like I said, he's down another key playmaker. 15, Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. Last week, Jordan Love, he took the game into his hands and led them back to victory for this Packer team. But this week, I think they're going to get up to an early lead in this one, where Josh Jacobs, second half of the game, is going to run it out versus the Carolina Panthers. And like I said, Jordan Love last week was a rarity for him to go over 300 yards and find the end zone 3 times in that one. 16, Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos. The last 2 weeks, this offense is putting up huge numbers, 75 points in the last 2 games for this Denver Bronco offense. Bo Nix obviously leading that huge fourth quarter, 33-point quarter comeback versus the Giants in Week 7. And then Week 8 had his way versus a bad Dallas defense. But this week, a tough matchup at the Houston Texans, one of the better defenses in the league, believe it or not. And Houston at home, they've been shutting down some pretty good offenses for the majority of the season. So I don't think Knicks' upside is that great in this one. 17, Sam Darnold of the Seattle Seahawks. So Sam Darnold, it's been a decent first season for him with the Seattle Seahawks, but he's had a couple good games, and some games he hasn't done much for fantasy owners, including a few weeks ago versus Houston. He didn't do much in that game, but coming off by, and this Commander secondary isn't all that great. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, a top 5 wide receiver right now, is JSN. I think they could connect in this game, and Darnold could be a decent back-end option and a great 2-quarterback league option. 18, Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another team coming off by a good matchup at the Vegas Raiders, one of the worst defenses in the league. And Travis Hunter emerged in the Week 7 game, 8 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. And now reports have come out, Liam Cohen, he wants to get Hunter more involved and use him like he's a number 1 wide receiver. So if Hunter could get on the same page with Lawrence and be more consistent, the numbers are going to go up all around the board. 19, Aaron Rodgers of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, the touchdowns have been there this season for Aaron Rodgers. His yards haven't been there, and a couple games inconsistent, but what do you expect for a 40-year-old quarterback? And this week, Indianapolis is coming in. They do give up a lot of points, is Indianapolis, but also they create a lot of turnovers and get to the quarterback with sacks. So this week, I don't think the ceiling's that high for Aaron Rodgers. I think 18 to 23-point range at most. And the 20th and final quarterback, I'm ranking is C.J. Stroud of the Houston Texans. So the good news for Stroud, it looks like Nico Collins is coming back, even though last week with a bunch of young wide receivers, Xavier Hutchinson, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, he went out there and put up numbers in that game versus the depleted 49er defense. And this week, with Denver coming in and Patrick Surtain on IR, maybe Stroud and Collins could keep this offense rolling this week. So that's the top 20 quarterbacks I'm ranking for Week 9 of the fantasy football season.